chapter 17, and we're going to go through, and we talked about Ahaz, the king of Judah, and now we're going to talk about, so Ahaz is king over Judah, but I want to also point out, this is going to talk about Israel, the northern kingdoms, but look how closely the things that they do wrong that Ahaz is doing is almost a mirror image of what's going on with Ahaz and what's going on with the northern tribe, where they call often Samaria, and see how tightly they have wound themselves in the wrong things. But there is a redeeming grace in a second in Ahaz's son, which we'll talk about next time in chapter 18. So let's get in. In the 12th year of Ahaz, I think this is hard reading, but I also want to point out, sorry, I keep stopping. This weekend, often what I'll do is while I'm reading the other scriptures, I'll listen to or read some from the Book of Mormon, usually listen to while I'm doing other things, because I don't have time to sit down and read everything. I'll often read the Book of Mormon, simply because I always read it every year, and I just happen to be in 2nd Nephi this time, and the Isaiah chapters, as they're called. And this is the time of Isaiah. This is the time that he lived. This is the time that he prophesied many things. And what we're going to see is his prophecies coming fulfilled in these years. And also, as you read those chapters and as you read the first chapters of the Book of Mormon, you can place Lehi in these situations as well. Him living in Jerusalem at this time and what is actually happening around them. It's not a pleasant thing. And yet the people are not repenting. This is a great way that we can tie the two books together. This becomes important chapters because of that. It's not just a history. It fills in around it all of the information that we have, and who is living when, and so forth. And when we get to Isaiah, we'll see some of these names come up. Some of these people come up who actually don't listen to Isaiah, but then his prophecies come true. So I just thought I'd throw that in so that you know that this is not just in a bubble. This is the history behind it. This is the backbone that shows you what it is. But I hope also that what we can do is do what Nephi wanted us to do when we read Isaiah and read this and understand this history, is see Christ in the chapters. See our connection with Christ in the chapters. So let's get into this. In the 12th year of Ahaz, the king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Eliah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel were before him. So he is being evil, but he's doing something totally different, worse than what all of the kings of Israel, none of them did that which was righteous. None of them were righteous kings. They all worshipped other gods and things. It is really weird that that whole kingdom, none of the kings could ever turn to the Lord the way they should have. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria. Now this isn't Syria, it's Assyria. And Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents. So he basically saying, well, we don't want to be attacked, so I'm going to pay tribute to him. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria. So for a while he is doing that, and then he thinks, maybe we should just align ourselves with Egypt. And when you're reading Isaiah, he'll say, speak not confederacy. These are confederacies. This means that they're bonding themselves together. They're trying to go against another kingdom with more than one kingdom. So Syria often is bound with Samaria or the 10 tribes, and they make this confederacy. And Isaiah tells them, no, that's not how it's going to work. It's turning to God, not to other nations. So he turns to So, king of Egypt, and brought no presents to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore, the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. And the king of Assyria came up throughout the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. If you go off to the corner, we've got a few things here. We're now going to talk about the fall of the northern kingdom. So I just threw in this message from President Nelson. Anytime you do anything that helps anyone on either side of the veil, take a step toward making covenants with God and receiving their essential baptismal and temple ordinances. You are helping to gather Israel. It is that as simple as that. And we'll get more into that as we get into the gathering of Israel. So what happened to the tribes of Israel after they were conquered by Assyria? Because the people of the northern kingdom disobeyed the Lord's laws and embraced idolatry and rejected the prophets, they lost the Lord's protection and were eventually conquered by the Assyrians. While many were killed during the Assyrian conquest, others were spared. Some of these survivors migrated to the southern kingdom and joined the population of the Israelites residing in Judah. Some remained in Israel and eventually intermixed with the foreign people of the Assyrians. The Assyrians relocated there. This mixed group became known as the Samaritans. Now, this is where you get the Samaritans from. You start to understand it a little more. Still, other survivors were taken into exile in Assyria in large numbers, and they eventually became lost to history. This group is often referred to as the lost tribes of Israel, and their scattering is part of what the scriptures call the scattering of Israel. There is much we do not know about the fate of the lost tribes of Israel, but Jesus Christ taught that they were not lost unto the Father, for he knoweth whither he hath taken them. The Savior also promised that he would visit the lost tribes of after his resurrection. In the Book of Mormon, the Lord spoke of a record of the lost tribes that would come forth at a future time. The scriptures teach that the restoration of the 10 tribes will be an important part of the latter-day gathering of Israel. And I read the thing about what President Nelson said. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria, took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Hala and Harbor by the river Gozan in the cities of Medes. So there we go, and this is quite common at that time. Split up the people. If you split them up, they can't try to conquer you. And then replace the people with faithful people in the lands. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned. Now look at all the gray in this. Remember, gray I usually put as something that they shouldn't be doing, that they are, against the Lord their God, which brought them up out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and had feared other gods. He's saying, they sinned against the one person that saved them and brought them and told them, don't serve other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel and the kings of Israel, which they had made. So when they came into the promised land, they got rid of these people because they were following those things, and now they're doing that. They're doing the same things that the other ones were. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. It's making it very clear that it's not the Lord being a vengeful, hurtful, horrible God, but that he has been very patient and loving towards them. But they keep turning against him and doing that which is not right. And they built them high places in the city, in all the cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images in the groves, in very high hill, under every green tree. Now you're probably getting sick of hearing that because they keep doing it. Almost every generation seems to go, oh, let's just go and build something, even when they repent at any time, which is, northern tribes seem to never quite gather properly. They still turn to those images. And there were many burnt, and there they burnt incense to all the high places, and did as did the heathen, whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. They're doing things that they should know is wrong. We need to watch ourselves in this time. Are we doing things because everybody else is doing it? Because it's been on the internet, or it's been what people have said are the best things to do? Are we doing that because we want to fit in? Are we looking to God for everything? Are we doing things that we know would not make the Lord happy, or even worse, to anger him? How many times have we talked about, for they served idols, just reading on a little bit, talked about the idols. They're not real. You know, he's telling them, don't serve idols because they're not even real things. They're made up. But to serve him, and yet they turn away from someone that is real for something else. Would somebody look at their mother and say, you're not real, but I am going to have this stuffed monkey be my mother from now on? Well, the stuffed monkey can't cook your meals, can't talk to you, can't do anything like that. but the real mother can. It just seems like it doesn't make sense. But they do this. They've done it time and time again, and now they're doing it worse. They're trying to be like the other countries. The whole problem with getting kings was that. For they served idols, whereof the Lord said unto them, Ye shall not do this thing. Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways and keep the commandments and my statutes. See how it's showing us. I have told you year after year after year after year after year, for hundreds of years, according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. He is letting them know this is what you should have done. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks, like unto the neck of their fathers, that they did not believe the Lord their God. They wouldn't hear, and they wouldn't believe. Strange enough, if you look in the Messiah, during King Messiah's time in the Book of Mormon, and it talks about, he had his, King Benjamin had talked about to everybody, and everybody said, we believe, and we will do the things of the Lord. And then it says that the rising generation would not hear and would not believe. This happens, and I think it's important that we know that we should listen and believe the Lord, in the Lord our God. We should turn to Christ in every thought and believe Him. He will come through for us. And they rejected His statutes and His covenant. Look at how many things they do here. And He made with their fathers, and His testimonies, which He testified against them. And they followed vanity, and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them. See, of those things, followed vanity, followed after the lust of things of their hearts that they want, rather than what the Lord wants. And they left the commandments of the Lord their God, and made molten images, even 2 calves. Isn't it interesting they chose calves after all these years, after what happened when they first came in and they made the golden calf that was broken down by Moses, and made a grove, and worshipped all the host of heaven, and served Baal. And this isn't that long since Elijah showed the power against Baal. I mean, it is, but it's not that long. It would still be there. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through fire. And we talked about that yesterday with Ahaz, didn't we? And used divination and enchantments, and told themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke Him to anger. And sold themselves, to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke Him to anger. Therefore, the Lord was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only. So they're definitely showing, and yeah, look, what's left? They're gone. And Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord, their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel, which they made. So Judah's not much better right this second. And the Lord rejected the seed of Israel and affected them and delivered them into the hand of the spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight. They're totally gone. And as we see, the Assyrians actually did just disperse everybody. And he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drove Israel from following the Lord and made them sin a great sin. Now he's going back and saying, it is from the beginning when you guys split up the 12 tribes. But is because they weren't. The kings that I gave you, you weren't listening. So I gave you someone else, and he drove you to a great sin. They keep going back to Jeroboam. Jeroboam has a lot to answer for, it sounds. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them. So there's this great evil that Jeroboam brought. Even though he's supposed to be good for the people at the time, he never was a good person. Until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he said by all his servants the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. And there we have it. They have been gone. Now it's going to be interesting here. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Kotha and from Ava and from Hamath and from Zepharim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel, and they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. And I'm just going to see here in the corner, it says, what influenced the religious beliefs of the Samaritans? And we're going to talk about that in the next few verses. And after the Assyrians relocated foreigners from other parts of the empire to live in Samaria, a series of lion attacks began to plague the land. The Assyrians believed these attacks occurred because the newcomers did not worship Jehovah. In response, the king of Assyria brought back an exiled Israelite priest to live among the people and teach them the ways of the Lord. Over the next few centuries, the foreigners who had been brought into Israel continued to worship their own gods along with Jehovah. Eventually, this mixed population of Israelites and foreigners came to predominantly identify themselves as the children of Israel and became known as Samaritans. And the Jews of later years refused to accept Samaritans because of their mixed ancestry and what the Jews viewed as improper religious practices. This rejection led to hostility between the two groups, which was evident both after Jewish exile and during the life of Jesus Christ. See how everything ties together a little more, and when we talk about Samaria in the New Testament next year, this is where we're getting it from. Okay, So we see these people are brought in, and so was the beginning of their dwelling there, that they feared not the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew them, some of them. Therefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations which thou hast removed and placed in the cities of Samaria know not the manner of God of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they knew not the manner of the God of the land. Now, this might sound a little bit strange, but if you think back to Nehemiah, when he came as a leper and was cured, he took soil back from Jerusalem, and so that when he worshipped, he had the soil of the land of that God. Just the idea that that is where that God resides, sort of thing. And so you can see how very individual they tried to be about what the God of land was, not realizing it's the God of the whole earth anyway. Then king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry hither one of the priests whom ye have brought thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let them teach them the manner of the God of the land. Then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear the Lord. Look, they're turning back to God. Howbeit, every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the houses of the high places, which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their cities therein, wherein they dwelt. So they said, okay, well, we'll appease the God of the land, but we'll still worship our gods as well, because I think they're pretty great. We made them up, and they look better than the God of the land, sort of, I guess. So they're serving two masters in a way. No man can serve two masters. The men of Babylon made Succoth Beanoth, and the men of Cuth made Nergal, and the men of Hamath made Ashma. So they made their own gods all over. And the Avites made Nabaz and Tarkak, and the Seraphites burned their children in the fire of Adramelech and Anamelech, the gods of the Sepharvaim. So they feared the Lord, and made unto themselves the lowest of them priests of the high place, which sacrificed for them in the houses of the high places. So they kind of feared the Lord, but they didn't live all the commandments. And they feared the Lord and served their own gods. Weird verse there, isn't it? After the manner of the nations whom they carried away from thence. Unto this day they do after the former manners. They fear not the Lord, neither do they their statutes after their ordinances, or after the law and commandment which the Lord commanded the children of Israel, whom he named the children of Jacob, whom he named Israel. With him the Lord had made a covenant, and charged them, saying, ye shall not fear other gods, nor bow yourselves to them, nor serve them, nor sacrifice to them. But the Lord who had brought them up out of the land of Egypt, this is reminding us what they should have been doing, with great power and a stretched out arm, him shall ye fear. We will use that term, your arm stretched out, when we get to Isaiah we'll see how he stretched out his arm to in mercy towards them so often, and stretched out his arm to protect them, and also to do justice to those who didn't follow him and wouldn't follow him. And him shall ye serve, and to him shall ye do sacrifice. Now, just going back to the gods of different lands, isn't that an easy way to say, you do you? Oh, it's fine. You don't have to worship God the way we worship him. You do you. The important thing is that we know who we worship, and we get to know him as we read and study the scriptures, as we go to church, as we go to the temple. We get to understand and become more like him. And as we do that, we will serve him. And we don't just think, oh, you do whatever you feel like. We do what the Lord wants us to do. And the statutes and the ordinances, law, and the law and the commandment which he wrote for you, ye shall observe to do evermore, and ye shall not fear other gods. Meaning ye shall not follow other gods. When it says fear, it means... And also, I think it's good enough to say don't fear them. Don't think that they're going to save you if you follow them. They're nothing to fear. If you've got me on your side, there's nothing you have to fear with them. And the covenant that I had made with you, ye shall not forget, neither shall ye fear other gods. But the Lord your God shall fear, and he shall deliver you out of the hand of all your enemies. Howbeit they did not hearken, but they did after their former manner. So the nations feared the Lord and served their graven images, both their children and their children's children, as did their fathers, so they did in this unto this day. So it's not gotten any better, and now they're scattered. But there is a bright hope in Judah, and we'll read about that next time.